Hi, this is Chris with Montana Troutfitters, and today we're tying up a little pattern called the Synful Dun. This is a fully synthetic compare-dun pattern that I've used and tied in many different sizes, shapes, and colors to represent anything from blueing olives to PMDs to tricos to pseudos to even up to gray, green, and brown drakes. It's a versatile little pattern, floats high, and is extremely durable. To tie it today, we're going to start out using a Dairiki 310 size 16. That's a straight eye dry hook. The tailing material will be brown olive Antron yarn. Body material we'll be using will be olive Spanflex. The wing will be made out of gray polypropylene yarn. Finally, we'll finish it with a little bit of super fine dry fly dubbing in gray olive. Thread of choice for this pattern is Unithread 8/0 in olive dun. So to start with, we'll load the hook in the vise. This is a great little pattern. I've had a lot of success on this, especially with pods of rising fish that seem to get kind of picky on flat water. To start out with, we'll start our thread roughly 1/6 of the way behind the eye, and we're just going to take our thread back to the back bend of the hook. Trim off our tag end. Our tailing material here is going to be Antron yarn. If this stuff comes off of the card or a spool, you only need about half of that material, so we'll pull out half of that, set the other half aside. The other great thing with synthetics is our measurements don't have to be precise because we can trim this off on the back end and it'll still look nice. So we'll take our thread forward, trim that front piece off here. To measure your tail on the back, I like roughly 3/4 of the hook. That'll give you your tail. Next material we're going to tie in is our Spanflex. And we tie this in right where we started our thread originally. Then you give it a little pull as you start to wrap back over the top of it here. We're taking our thread back to that back bend of the hook, right where we tied in our tail. And we'll take our thread forward, right back to that tie-in point. When we wrap on the back end here, you want to apply a lot of pressure with this Spanflex. You want to keep it real nice and tight. Then as you go forward, you can start to release some of that pressure and start to really build a taper on this body. Get it up to the front there. We'll go ahead and tie that off. And we've left roughly 1/6 or so of this hook open on the front. That's where we're going to put in our wing. You split this polypropylene yarn roughly in half because you don't need a full chunk of it. We're going to tie this in on the top with a couple of thread wraps. We move this off to the side almost like we're tying in a spinner wing. Only when you rotate this to the side, we're going to rotate one side up and underneath, and then we're going to crisscross tie in this material on top of the hook. And what that does is that gets it secured against the underside of the hook. It's also a great way to tie in your parachutes, but we're not tying in a parachute here, so you want to be sure not to post it. We're just going in front of and behind that material. Last material we're going to add here is going to be a little bit of your gray olive super fine dry fly dubbing. Now notice we don't need to do much other than basically cover up the thread with our dubbing. And that is basically going to cover up all the little thread wraps that we made to put our wing in. So go around in front and behind that wing. You're still kind of setting it into place. Now we'll go ahead and whip finish. Now before you head cement or do anything here, you want to make sure that we do these last couple of steps. I'm going to pull this wing back, measure that wing to just about the back bend of the hook, maybe slightly past, and trim. Then the final step here, we take and we pull this wing out to the sides. When we pull it out to the sides, we're fanning this wing out so that you get a Comparadun style wing on the pattern. When you finish, it should be nice and uniform. You want to tug on it a little bit, you can. Get that wing set. We're going to come in with some head cement. You want to apply that head cement right on the underside of your dubbing and right into the base of the wing. And what that will do is that will set your wing in place so that it won't move around. And there you have it, the Synful Dun.